Hello everyone, thank you for joining us this Wednesday morning and welcome to this educational presentation. Now today I'd like to ask you the question, did you catch these 10 best performing stocks of 2020? Well, our great indicator, in fact this is probably our most popular indicator, the PTS XT actually did. I'm going to share with you a lot of great examples today on how you could have taken advantage of the 10 best performing stocks of the past year. For example, let's look at this chart here in FDX. This is a weekly chart going back to roughly June. Most people just looking at this on site would say, well, not much going on here, but the indicator actually generated a buy signal right here at the very beginning of July, and you could have potentially caught this really nice uptrend. And in fact, according to the indicator, I believe you would still be in this stock if you chose to do so. Now that's 150 points you could have captured. Now from year to year, from year end to year, year to year end, the stock actually gained 92.38%. So you could have taken advantage of a big chunk of that using this. Now here's the great thing about using this indicator, the PTS XT, that everything is accessible on our platform, the PTS Primo charting platform. This actually teaches you how to trade because everything is one click away. It's really simple access, and we teach you exactly how to trade with this great tool on our platform. So I'm going to show you a lot of great examples today and show you how you could have taken advantage of the top 10 stocks of this past year. So welcome once again. My name is Steven Primo, President and Founder of Specialist Trading. If you're new to my webinars, well, we only have one goal at Specialist Trading, and that's simply to educate you. We want to teach traders how to trade. We feel that that's the main component that's missing with all traders. That's roughly why 80 to 85% of all traders fail, is because it's not because you don't have the perfect system or the perfect indicator or the perfect market that you should be trading or the perfect educator. It's that you just simply haven't educated yourself enough, and so you're allowing someone to make your own trading decisions for you. I mean, think of it. I always ask this question in my webinars. How do you make your trading decisions on a daily basis? Do you go to some chat room or trading room? Do you wait for the jobless claims to come out? Do you look at someone on TV or even someone in a webinar and wait for them to tell you what to buy or sell? This is the way most traders trade, and this, in my opinion, is why most traders fail, because you're basically giving your power away. Well, the remedy for that is simply to educate you with sound fundamental tips, techniques, and strategies that have stood the test of time so that ultimately you can make your own trading decisions. This is what we do at Specialist Trading. We provide you with all those great methods and techniques that have really stood the test of time so that ultimately you'll be able to take charge of your own trading destiny. You'll see that today in the attention to detail we give into trying to teach you how to use the PTS XT. But before we begin, as always, we are first required by law to share this with you, so please take a moment to view our disclaimer. I'm going to show you a lot of performance results using these top 10 stocks of the past year and show you how we could have applied this with the PTS XT. But please remember that we can in no way guarantee that any of the results I'm about to share with you will be repeated in the future. Also, please remember that since we are an educational company, all examples are strictly for educational purposes only. Now, if you'd like to get some more education on a day-to-day basis, excuse me, and if you'd like to get just an idea of what our concepts and philosophy are in trading, I invite each and every one of you to follow us on Twitter. There's our handle right there at SPCLSTTRADG. I would suggest copying that down because I post different information, educational information on a daily basis, anywhere from some of our concepts to trading to little bits of financial wisdom I've accumulated along the way. So lots of great free education. So feel free to follow us on Twitter. Now remember, as I stated in the opening statements, we are an educational company. We're not going to tell you what we think the market's going to do next year. We're not going to tell you what the best stock is to buy or sell right now. We're not going to tell you what the best time frame is. Those are all decisions that you must make. Remember, our concept, our philosophy is that you have to be in charge of your own trading destiny. So many students email me on a daily basis saying, Steve, what do you think of this stock? Or what do you think the market's going to do? And I always say, well, listen, you should be educating yourself with our techniques and methods so that you'll never have to ask that question. That's what gets most traders into trouble. We don't want you to rely on someone or something else. We want you to rely on sound, fundamental education. So therefore, my goal is not to force feed you signals or tell you how to trade or what to trade. My goal is simply to teach you the things that stood the test of time. This is the specialist edge. Same edge I was taught some 4 decades ago, and hopefully it will be able to sustain you for that amount of time, okay? Now, as always, we will take the questions at the very end of today's class. So if you have one, try to remember it, or please write it down so we don't take up all of your morning here answering questions in a long, lengthy webinar. Okay, the only question I will answer right now is the most common, and that is this being recorded? Yes, it is. So if you have to leave early or if you're having technical issues, don't worry. Each and every one of you will be sent a link to this recording, all right? Okay, with that stated, let's begin today's presentation. So what are we going to be talking about today? We're going to be talking about this great indicator, which is called the PTS XT. We only really have been talking about it for the past year or so, but here's what it's based off. It's an indicator designed to identify extreme trends in advance. Now, if you're a student of mine, you know that we're all about following the trend. And we have a number of different studies, a number of different techniques for finding the trend. And so I'm sure a lot of you would say, well, how is this any different from, like, say, the PET-D or the buy-sell line? Well, the buy-sell line focuses mainly on the overall trend. So that's looking at the big picture. The PET-D is really, really sensitive, and it's looking at the short-term trend. All right, but both of those tools are simply listening to the market and telling you on a tick-by-tick basis what the market's doing right now. And they'll tell you exactly, according to their criteria, what the market is doing. What differentiates the PTS XT from them is that it's only designed to indicate when an extreme trend is about to take place. So you can be basically looking at a stock, a future, or a currency pair, and you can not see anything according to this tool for maybe days or weeks until it discerns that an extreme trend is about to take place. That's the difference between the buy-sell line and the PET-D. It will only determine if an extreme trend is about to take place. Now, is this guaranteed? No. Sometimes, and I'll show you some examples of that in the coming presentation, but it has a really high probability chances of identifying these, and it can get you in right at the beginning before it's even noticeable that an extreme trend is about to begin. Now, I know a lot of you are saying, well, what about an extreme trend to the downside? What if the market changes direction? Well, it does that as well. I'll show you an example of that as well in a different market. We're mainly going to be focusing on uptrends because, as you all know, the market has been going straight up the past good part of the year. And so we're going to show you how you could have used this to the upside. But it could be just as easily identify extreme trends to the downside. Now, it's based on multiple proprietary indicators and their relationship to one another. We can't give away the rules because this is basically a proprietary indicator. But remember, once again, it really is not about learning the formula and how to construct this on your own. What's the most important thing is learning how to trade and how to apply the PTS XT to your own personal trading plan. That's really the secret. That's really the basis for this. And this is what we teach you in our course. Now, because of these two things, it's official. The PTS XT is our most popular trading tool. We have it traded in over 115 countries and virtually every state in the United States because it really is helping a lot of students. Remember, you can apply it to any market, any time frame. We have students that use this even on Bitcoin, that caught that last Bitcoin move. And if you go to our Twitter page, there's lots of examples. If you scroll back enough, far back enough to show you how we could have applied this for Bitcoin, currency pairs, even futures. So it really is versatile, and you can transfer it onto any market or time frame. All right, so let's share with you the trade process. If you're not familiar how to use it, it is extremely simple. Once you're in the trade, there are a number of ways to trade it. We'll just share with you the very simple way of identifying setups and just a very simple way to take a big chunk out of that extreme trend. All right, so let's look at this chart here. This is a daily chart of FTNT, okay? This is fortnight. This is coming into this month, into December, so it's just a couple of weeks old, 2 or 3 weeks old. Now, looking at this, sure, it has an upward bias. Nothing very strong. There's nothing really to get excited about or write home about. It just looks like it's going up, but for all intents and purposes, it is in no way signaling that it's going to have a nice big up move. For all we know, the next day could be down. But here's what you would do on a nightly basis if you wanted to. Remember, you can scan for this on our platform. The first thing you would do, though, is simply click on the PTS XT Extreme Trend tab in our upper green strategy tab. This has all our techniques, all our methods, all our studies in this upper green strategy tab. So you click on PTS XT Extreme Trend, and in the drop-down menu, you see a number of categories. All you have to do is simply click on the most visible, and that's the highlighted signal. And what this will do is paint a block around that particular bar if the indicator is determining that an extreme trend is in play. Now, if we had seen a reddish-orange block painted around this bar, the indicator would be signaling that most likely we're going to have a strong downward move. Once again, not 100% guaranteed, nothing is. I've been trading for over 40 years now, and if anyone tells you something's guaranteed, you should run, because nothing is guaranteed in the markets. You just want things that will give you an edge. So this gives you a tremendous edge, though. Now, since it's not painted reddish-orange, the only other color it can be painted is yellow. Okay, now if you see a yellow block around a bar, as we see right here on the 27th of November in Fortnite, that is the indicator telling you that there's a high probability there's going to be an extreme up move. And as long as the bars continue to be in that yellow block, that extreme uptrend is in play. So obviously the easiest place to get in is on the first bar that you see, okay? Because that will most likely be at or near the bottom of the up move. So let's say we had bought Fortnite here, right at that bar when it closed. And once again, you could scan for this, or if this was a stock you had in your basket, you could be looking at this on a daily basis. You would just simply purchase it at the end of the day, and look what happened coming into this past week. Not a bad little move, right? Now, as we look at this in hindsight, this was actually 22 points in 3 weeks. Now, there are a number of ways to trade it. One of the simplest ways is which I just shared with you right now. You could have bought on that first bar and simply waited until you felt you had enough profit and got out. Sometimes you can be in these setups for maybe a couple of days, sometimes a couple of weeks. Sometimes I've even seen a couple of months. So remember, our philosophy is you're in charge. We're just providing you with the tools and techniques to help you be consistent. Now, some of the other ways you could have entered on this trade is when we crossed above a short-term high, you could have purchased right here and taken advantage of these last 3 up bars. You could have purchased on a pullback here using one of our strategies. There are a number of different ways in which to enter. The simplest way is usually just to buy on the first bar. All right, so now that you know the process, now you know how simple this is, let's look at the top 10 best performing stocks of 2020, okay? Remember, we're not going to say that you would have, bought at the very low and got out at the very high. We're just saying that once these blocks appear, you want to take a good chunk out of that block. And we share with you in the course how to do that. So we're not going to say that you actually would have gotten in at the low and gotten out at the high. But who cares? Instead of making 80%, let's say you made, 30 or 40%. That's still not a bad little trade there, okay? Now, this list comes from the website NerdWallet, okay? They had a running list of the 10 best performing stocks for 2020 coming into this past week. And here's the criteria that this list was based off of. These are the best stocks in the S&P 500 index. All right, so we're only looking at S&P 500 stocks. Now, these results were based on percentage price change. Now, we realize, as you'll see in the future out of these 10 stocks, some of these stocks were up, hundreds of points. Others were just up, maybe 10 or 20 points. It has nothing to do with the point amount. It only has to do with the percentage price change, okay? Now, it was measured by year-to-date performance, and what we're going to be doing is looking at weekly time frames. Because if we looked at the daily bars, the PTS XT many times can generate signals on and off maybe 3 or 4 times a month. So you would just see dozens of signals all over the place. So we want to go up to a higher time frame where it would mainly only generate these up signals maybe 2 or 3 times a year. Now, remember this past year, 2020, the beginning of the year, February and March, the market fell out of bed. Remember when all the news came out about COVID? And we went down up until about April or May. And that's where the market started to go pretty much straight up. Now, a lot of people didn't believe it at the time. They said, well, this is just a pullback. We're going to just kind of roll over and come straight down and make new lows. A lot of other people said, well, I'm staying out of the market because this is really terrible. It's going to be terrible for our economy. So I don't see us really progressing. Maybe we're just going to kind of hover here for the next year or so. Whereas these stocks just continue to go higher and higher. And the beauty of the PTS XT is that it was able to identify them in May, June, and July. So we're going to be looking at weekly time frames and see how you could have gotten in when the market started to go higher towards the latter part of 2020. Remember, everything you're going to be seeing right now is displayed directly coming from the PTS Primo charting platform. So once you're a student of ours, once you're a member of the PTS XT course, you'll be able to see how to apply this and how simple it is on the platform, because it's really designed to identify these extreme trends in advance, and everything is one click away. All right, so let's look at the top 10 list. Let's start with the 10th on the list first, and number 10 was ALGN, Align Technology Incorporated. Now, year to date, the stock was up a little over 82%. How could the PTS XT help us take a nice little chunk out of that? Remember, we're not going to say you made 82%. We're just saying that the market went up that much year to year. The stock went up that much year to year, beginning to end on the 2020 yearly basis. How could we have taken advantage of that big upward move? So as we look at a weekly chart here with nothing applied on the PTS Primo charting platform, remember, all we have to do is click on the PTS Extreme Trend tab right here in the drop-down menu, click on Highlight Signal, and guess what? What if I could have told you could have bought right here, taken advantage of this big move, and then another signal generated right here? Well, it's easy. Once you apply the PTS XT, it would have generated two yellow blocks. Let's say using one of the styles, remember there's different ways to trade. I'm just going to share with you one of them right now. Let's say you would have bought on the first bar right here, roughly with the stock price around 250. Well, if you wanted to hold on, you could have held on the entire time. And one way traders like to trade is the first bar that closes outside of the block is your exit. So that's the first bar right here. You basically bought it at 250. You could have sold it at roughly 465. Okay, nice little over 200 points you could have made there. Now, you're out of the trade this week. The next week, we closed down, but it's covered and colored yellow. And so you could have gotten back in roughly about 420, 430, and you would still be in the trade if you were using that style. Now, does that style work 100% of the time? No. Sometimes it's better not to use that and just to use your own exit point and say, listen, I got in right here, and maybe I'm going to get out right here. And then I'll get in again here and then get out and take a nice chunk out here. There's no right or wrong way to trade. We're just furnishing you with these really nice little golden nuggets in the market, and you can take advantage of them because these are the moves you want to be trading. We have so many testimonials from traders saying, they say, Steve, I love this tool so much, I don't even trade the way I used to anymore. I'll only trade when I see a yellow block. So if I see the price is in a yellow block, that's the only time I'm in the stock. If it's not yellow, colored yellow with a block around it, I don't even trade it. I don't care if one of my strategies generates a signal. Here's another way to trade it. You can trade your strategy, whatever strategy you have, and you can apply it. For example, let's look at this next one, which was number 9 on the list. And this is FCX, Freeport McMoran Incorporated. I used to trade this on the floor when I was on the trading floor of the stock exchange. This was up a little over 89% on the year in 2020. So as we look at this chart here, this blank chart going pretty much straight up since May, what if I would have told you you could have bought right here, that this was not going to roll over and make new lows? The market was actually going much stronger. Why? Because the PTS XT already determined that a strong upward trend was in play, just right here. That's why. You see, the first yellow coloring was around right here in mid to end of June, roughly when the stock was trading around 11. Now, here's another way a lot of our students like to trade this. Let's say they have a strategy that is, it's okay, it's so-so, it's overall it does okay, it's nothing exciting. Well, a lot of our students say, now I only trade my strategy when it generates signals in a yellow block. And all of a sudden, I've increased tremendously my odds for consistency. And the beauty of this is because you're trading in a strong trend. I'm sure you've noticed this before. When the market is really moving, that's when you really are doing well. That's most likely when you're on the right side of that trend. You do extremely well with whatever technique, whatever method you're trading. I always relate it to boating or in a raft down a river. If you're on a raft on a river and the river is not moving, I don't care how nice that raft is. I don't care how nice your little rowboat is. But if the river isn't moving, you're basically going to just stay still. But if you have a really nice, strong current behind you, you're going to be really flowing down that river. It's going to be fun. It's the same way with trading. It doesn't matter what strategy you use. It doesn't matter what technique or method. But if you're trading in the yellow block, the odds are you're going to do very well and be even more consistent than you have been. All right, let's look at number 8, and that was Now, or ServiceNow Incorporated, up over 90%, okay, on the year to year. So as we see, the PTS XT generated 2 buy signals, one right here at the beginning of May, and then another one right here just last month in November. As we apply the indicator, we see that the block started right here. You could have held on and exited right here. And with the second one, you could still be in. Remember, that's just one way to trade it. And I'll show you in a few seconds how sometimes that's not the best way to trade it. Other times, the best way to trade it is to just get in and out. Here's another simple way. Every time there's a down day in a yellow block, you may just want to buy it and then sell it the next week. A down day, all right, it didn't close higher, but you hold on to it maybe for 2 more weeks and then sell it again. Another down day, you could have had all this movement. Another down day, wait a couple of days or a couple of weeks. Do you see how this works? You could use it as a kind of a weekly trading type of tool. Here's another example here. You could have bought it right here on this down day, or down week, I should say, sold it a couple of weeks later. There are a number of ways to trade it. You just don't have to hold on to it if you don't want to. Let's look at number 7. This is a weekly chart of FDX, FedEx. This is I believe this is the chart I showed you in the very beginning. It was up over 92% on the year. Remember, there was a buy signal generated right here at the beginning of July. Had you taken that, you could have bought that roughly at about 155, 160. You'd still be in the trade up over 100 points. And basically, you had 150 points to work with if you were able to get out of the top. So this is something that you could have stayed in the entire time if you wanted to. Here's the example for number 6 going down the list. And I'm not sure how to pronounce ALB. That's Albemarle Corp. Over 93%, nearly 94% on the year. As we see here, we kind of went from June to November, really nothing much happening, kind of sideways to higher, but then we just took off from November on. Let's see what the PTS XT signal. Click on, in the upper green strategy tab, in the drop-down menu, click on highlighted signal, and you'll see that a signal was generated in June. At the end of June, you could have gone long roughly about 75. The stock went up roughly 25 points, close to 100. Now here's where it would not have worked out to use that technique. Remember, if you had bought right here and you exited on the first bar out, well, you would have given away a lot of your profit. Not to worry, in our course, we teach you a number of different ways to exit at these higher levels, so you don't have to wait for that last bar. Same thing here. If you had bought on the first bar and exited, well, you would have had a minor loss. But on this last trade here in November, you would have bought roughly about 120, and you're still in the trade as it's roughly 15, 20 points higher. Let's go now down, and as you see, these are all the buy signals. Let's go down now to list number 5 on the top 10, and that is PayPal. All right, PYPL up 99% on the year. All right, not a bad little trade. How could we have taken advantage of taking out some of the chunks of this? Click on the PTS XT, and we see that it gave us 3 chances to enter. Here in April, the end of April, another time in September, and then lastly, another time this past couple of weeks in late November, early December. We applied the indicator, and if you had held on for a long time, this was a very nice trade here. This would have generated a lot of profit. But if you had done the same thing here, you bought, and if you waited till the first bar out, you would have had a losing trade. So you roughly would have bought roughly about 192. It went up almost 20 points, 15 points, and then you gave it all back. So a lot of times it helps to take a profit and then to get out. And here, the last signal was generated in November, roughly about 216. You'd still be in the trade, okay? And roughly making about 20 points in PayPal. Let's look at number 4 on the list. And that's AMD, Advanced Micro Devices, another stock I used to trade on the floor when I was trading on the floor. This was up over 99%, close to 100% on the year. So let's look at AMD. Now this wasn't so cut and dry. It went up, went sideways, and then went up again. How were the signals looking? Well, we actually had 2 signals. The first one was right here in July. The second one was just a couple of weeks ago, or maybe 3 weeks ago in November. I could have taken advantage of this nice buy signal, bought roughly about 70. The stock went all the way up to 95. So that was 25 points you could have taken advantage of while you were in the trade. Now, the second signal was given roughly around 88 or so, and the stock is now currently up about 10 points from there. okay? Remember, the beauty of the tool is that it's just highlighting these really nice, strong, extreme trends. This is where you want to be in the market. How you decide to enter, exit, place your stop is entirely up to you. The good news is we provide you with multiple ways to do that. We're not going to just leave you high and dry and say, well, figure it out yourself. You got a yellow block there. Good luck. I hope you get out at the top. No, we're going to show you a lot of ways because ultimately we want you to make your own trading decision. All right, let's look at number 3 on the list. And now we're looking at NVDA, NVIDIA Corp, 120% on the year. PTS XT generated 2 buy signals, one in April, and then another one just last month in November. As we apply the tool, we see that this was a really nice trade here. You could have purchased this on the first bar, roughly about 280. The stock went all the way up to 580. That's 300 points in roughly about 4 or 5 months. That's not a bad little trade there. And then it gave you another signal here, but then look what happened. The next bar, it was out of the yellow block. So this is how sensitive this is. According to this first bar, it looked as if we were going to have a really nice upward move. And then look what happened. The very next bar, it said, nope, it doesn't look like it anymore. And that was a good decision because look what's happened. The last 3 or so weeks, it's gone sideways. So this is another beautiful thing about the tool. If it changes its mind and says, you know what, according to the requirements, there's no longer an extreme trend in play, it will get you out. So this is another thing. You can really save a lot of time and most especially money. Many times it'll get you out of a false signal. Let's go to number 2 on the list, and that is LB, or L Brands Inc., up 126% on the year. Number 2 on the list of the top 10. All right, a weekly chart of LB shows us getting into it at the very beginning of July. How did we do that? We just apply the yellow block of the PTS XT. You see how simple this is? Now, looking back in hindsight, sure, it looks simple. But remember, all you have to do is you could decide just to stay long as there's a yellow block around the bars, or you could trade once you're in it. Like I said, here's a pullback using one of our strategies. You could have used this to buy, gotten out at an exit, buy again, got out at an exit. There's a number of ways to use the PTS XT. And then lastly, let's look at number 1. What's number 1 on the top 10 list of the best stocks according to NerdWallet for the S&P 500? It's Etsy, ETSY, up 273% on the year. Not a bad little gain for 1 year, right? As we look at the chart, we see that it has a very nice weekly kind of stair-step approach. You know, it's not going straight up, but it's kind of having this stair-step where it goes up, sideways to down, up, down a little bit, up, but every time it makes higher highs. Very orderly, very organized way to be in the market. All right, so how could we have applied this? Looking back in hindsight, sure, anyone would have wanted to bought this, but how could we have actually been in this trade before we actually knew it was going to take off? How could we gotten into this when it was still trading around 50 or 60? Well, click on the PTS XT Extreme Trend tab on our green strategy tab. All right, in the drop-down menu, click on highlighted signal, and you'll see automatically the yellow blocks appear. Now remember, this is looking back in hindsight, but if this were in April, the second week of April, on the close of that week, you would have seen a yellow block around this 1 bar. That's all you really would have needed to know if you wanted to just simply jump in and buy, okay? Using one of our techniques, you would have simply bought here. You would have placed your stop somewhere down here, and then just held on. So roughly you could have purchased it roughly about, let's say 60, and on this first bar out, you could have sold it at 112. That's 100% you just made, okay? In just roughly about 100%, maybe 90%, in just about 4 or 5 months. Now, here's where it doesn't work all the time with just using one technique, because had you bought here roughly at 130, you would have exited about a month later at 120. You lost 10 points, okay? So you would have, if you still wanted to use that technique, you would have had a losing trade. Then you simply wait for another month, and now you get back in roughly about 160, and it's trading like 190. So you've got a 30-point gain back. You made back that 10 points that you lost in the last setup, and now you've got a 20-point profit that, on top of that 10-point loss. So you see how it's, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Not every setup is going to be a winner, but it's highly probable And wouldn't you have loved to have known these setups here last year? Not even going back to the end of the year, just going back to April or May, when everyone thought the market was just kind of teetering and getting ready to roll over again. The PTS XT was signaling extreme uptrend signals prior to that, when no one knew anything about it going straight up. Okay, let's review before we talk about a great offer. We're going to present to you a great end-of-year offer so that you can become a student of this course. Remember, the PTS XT identifies these high probability zones. These zones can keep you out of choppy whipsaw markets. As I've said, we've had a number of testimonials from students who say, Steve, when my strategy generated a signal, I would just jump in. But now I only wait for signals generated in a yellow block because it increases my odds for consistency. Now, it can increase your odds for consistency trading it that way, but also it pinpoints these low-hanging fruit trade areas. These are different trades that we teach you in the course, different ways in which to trade it, other than your strategy or where you just buy and hold, okay? Now, it also provides multiple trading opportunities. One of them is that you can trade the sectors. Think of it. Let's say you wanted to chart an ETF on, let's say, the semiconductor sector, all right? If the semiconductor sector ETF turns all of a sudden in a yellow block, well, doesn't that stand to reason that the stocks that make up that ETF are also going to go up? So you could not have to trade the ETF, you could trade a certain stock with what makes up that sector. This is a great way a lot of our students like to trade it. It identifies market sectors to avoid as well, because remember, if you're interested in a sector, maybe just stay out of it until it's in a yellow block. Or if you see a reddish-orange block, you want to stay out of it altogether. It eliminates trading traffic jams and congestions. Why? Because you're only focusing on trading during an extreme uptrend or an extreme downtrend. So ask yourself, do you think this indicator can help your trading starting in 2021? Let's go a step further. What if we had given this presentation a year ago, okay, at the end of 2019? And knowing what you know now, how highly probable this tool is, wouldn't you have liked to use this indicator and viewed how it could help you this past year? Don't you think it could have elevated your trading? Looking back just at a small sample of examples, okay? I think the answer is yes. So we have a great end of year special offer for all of you so that you can come in a student of mine in the PTS XT course. We're going to offer you the PTS XT Extreme Trend so that you can trade in the express lane. This generates those high probability zones you can apply to any market, any time frame, any direction. You can trade with your current strategy, build your own strategy, but it'll give you the confidence to pull the trigger. On top of this, you'll have educational correspondence with yours truly. You can email me whenever you like, and I can help you along with your own personal trading. Now remember, everything you just saw was displayed coming from the PTS Primo charting platform. And you saw how simple it is to apply. You can only get the PTS XT right now on our platform this simply to trade it this way. So we're going to offer our new customers 12 months free of the platform. You're going to get a full year using this, and everything is one click away. Let me show you what else is included with that. You're not only going to get the PTS XT one-click access, you're going to get our enhanced buy-sell line. Those are 4 different features telling you the overall trend. You're going to get our strength of trend tool. This is a way to find out when a trend is running out of steam or not. So this is another way to exit while you're in an extreme up or downward move. You also get our signal scanner. You can scan for nightly signals using the PTS XT scanner. Auto-generated exit levels. Remember I told you we have a number of ways in which to exit trades? This is auto-generated already on the platform. You can be having one click on the screen and see where these exit levels are. Over 90 of the most prominent technical indicators along with personalized tech support. So if there's ever any issue along with trading with the platform, our tech support will be there in a matter of moments to resolve any issues that you may have. Now, I know a lot of you are saying, well, Steve, I'm not a big stock trader. I like to trade other markets or I like to trade other time frames. Okay, well, let's look at some different markets and different time frames. Here is a daily chart of FUBO, okay? This is Marathon Patent Group, and this is just coming into yesterday. Now, I know the stock went up really, I think off some news or off some really nice, interesting information or announcement that came out. Isn't it funny how prior to that news coming out, the stock is now roughly about 12 or 13. Prior to that, when the stock was 6 or 7, a buy signal was generated just about a week or so ago. okay, using the PTS XT. If we want to go back even further, another buy signal was generated in November when the stock was trading at 3. So, I always tell my students, and in the webinars, I say, listen, I've gone to webinars myself, and you see these phenomenal signals, how this strategy or this system or this indicator they're promoting, how it just generated these great signals. And then you look at the date, and they're like a year old. And I always say, how can anyone trust this if the signal was generated a year ago? You want to see something that was just generated last week or maybe yesterday. Well, look at this. This was just last week. If you were trading already with the PTS XT, you could have taken advantage of this. Here's another example here. Remember, we're not only talking about up markets, this can be applied to down markets as well. Now, this is a weekly chart in GILD, all right? This is a sell signal. When you see a reddish-orange block painted around a bar, this is telling you either to avoid the stock or, if you're an aggressive trader, to go short, buy the puts or whatever. Here was the first bar in August, generated around the stock. At this point, when the price was roughly at 70, you could have bought the puts or shorted the stock if you wanted to. Or more importantly, if you were long the stock, this would have been a good way to exit. This is another way students of ours like to use this. They'll say, if I see a red block, I'm not going to trade it. I'm just going to use that as my stop. I'll get out of the stock then. So the stock roughly went from 70 down to 57, roughly about 12, 13 points coming into December. Now, as we look at, let's see, was that the first chart? Yeah, I think that was the first one we had already looked at. Let's look at, oh no, this was a different one. Let me just held back. Oh yeah, this first one, I'm sorry, was, as I go back, yeah, I'm sorry, this was Mara. Excuse me, I said this was Fugo. This was not, this is Mara. This is, as we all know, this stock took off like crazy. I believe there was some news connected with Bitcoin. As I go further, this is FUBO, okay? Now this, once again, generated some great signals last week. The stock, roughly just in the last week, generated a buy signal when the stock was trading at 34, 35. And it went up to 20 points in the next 3 or 4 days, okay? This was just this past week. Now, if we go back even further, in October, a buy signal was generated roughly about 14 or 15, and it went up 100% up to 30 coming into December. So these are things that just recently happened. Now, if you don't trade stocks, it doesn't matter. As we look at this 4-hour chart of the Swiss franc, a lot of our students like to trade currency pairs. Here's a 4-hour chart of the Swiss franc. Look at these sell signals that were generated starting in November, another one here, and then coming into December. Look how you could have taken advantage of all these big downward moves. Just generated hundreds and hundreds of pips in your favor. So that's looking at a 4-hour chart of the Swiss franc to the downside. Recent chart. Let's look at something even more recent, a 15-minute chart of the E-mini futures. Okay, this was taken on the 16th last week. We had a really nice upward move in the morning, roughly about 7 a.m. Pacific Coast time. Now, just judging off of this first bar, if you had none of this to see and you just saw one bar all of a sudden painted yellow with a yellow block around it, this is all the information you need to know. You could have purchased here, placed a stop somewhere down below, and if you wanted to, use that technique where you just hold on and ultimately exit once you leave the block, okay? So basically, you could have bought at 3,700 and made a good 15 points in the next day. That's roughly about $700, $800 you possibly could have made. Now, as you can see here, this is our end of year special. This is a fantastic offer. We know at the end of the year, with expenses coming up and with, people having a difficult time this year, it's difficult to take advantage of something that costs thousands and thousands. I mean, I've gone to webinars myself and I've seen things, displayed and promoted for, a discount, 10,000 down to 7,000. And it's ridiculous. People are having a tough year. You can't afford that. So we have a great end of year special offer for all the new students. Our regular price is roughly $5,000 for the PTS XT, and it may go up even more next year. But here's the great offer we're going to present for you. We're going to discount it down to a one-time payment of $497, less than $500. Just one-time payment of $497, and then a monthly payment of $97. That's it. Now, included with that, you're going to get a full year of the platform. Now, if you wanted to, you could pay in full for a one-time only. A lot of people say, listen, I don't want the payments. I have the money. I can pay for it all together. We'll discount that even more. We'll discount that $500 down to $44.95. So it's all yours and you're still going to save $500. But if you want the monthly payment, that's a great, great offer. Less than $500. I mean, think of it. If you had a difficult time last month or the last couple of months, most likely you lost more than $500 in the market, right? You could have had the PTS XT along with a full year of the platform just for less than $500 and a monthly payment of $97, okay? Take your trading to the next level with the new PTS XT. This is our extreme trend indicator. If you want to start out 2021 in the right direction, I can't think of a better way to do it with this tool. Remember, this is our most popular tool today. Why? Because it really helps students so much. We have tremendous testimonials from students who only trade with this now. They said, listen, Steve, I'm not going to trade unless we're in a yellow block or a reddish-orange block, and that will determine whether I take a signal on my strategy. That's how simple it is. But we also teach you just, dozens of ways in which to apply it in our course. So here's how to take advantage of this. Contact Pro Trader Strategies. They're my sister site. They helped me develop the platform, and they're in charge of all the discounts. They're in charge of all the tech support. I would strongly suggest giving them a call if you're at all interested. There's absolutely no obligation. Call them directly at 310-598-6677. They have trading consultants manning the phones right now. They would be more than happy to give you a quote or to talk to you more about tech support or to just answer questions about pricing. Okay, let's say you already have the platform. They're very flexible. They can work a deal with you to help you out with that. Okay, but remember, there's no obligation. They're there to help you. So give them a call at that number. Now, the link you see at the very bottom is the link that will take you to the information page. It would also take you to the sign-up page if you'd like to sign up online. But we've just posted a live link in the chat box because that link is not live. You have to go to the chat box on the far right-hand corner of the GoToWebinar column. If you see it down there, just click that on. It will take you to the sign-up page, okay? Now, I promised you I would answer questions at the very end. So if you have any questions concerning trading or how to actually apply it to your own trading process, just go to your question and answer page, type them in, and I will answer them to the best of my ability. Someone's asking, could a beginner use this? Yes, you saw how extremely simple this is. I mean, I can't think of a simpler way to apply it than to simply just click on the tab, as you saw on our platform. Once you see a block, basically, you can just buy it on that block or sell it on a reddish-orange block. And we teach you in the course where you would place your stop. We teach you different ways to exit and different ways to protect yourself. There's just a number of ways, and it's extremely simple. If you're new to our presentations or if you're new to my courses, we base everything around simplicity. Even people who are not members of the PTS XT, but just are members of our platform, we get tons of testimonials saying, I love your platform because everything is so simple. It's just one click, it tells you where to go, and it's right there. And I designed it that way because I have a pet peeve about platforms, about scanners, about strategies that are so complicated and so convoluted that I don't have any idea what I'm doing. I've been there. I know what it's all about. So I specifically designed this with our programmers and with Pro Trader Strategies to make it simple. So no matter what your skill level, it doesn't matter if you've been trading for 20 years or 20 minutes, everyone will get the ease of use of this. Everything is one click away as well, okay? Now someone's asking, can you apply options to this? Yes, but remember, our philosophy is, as an educator, we're simply trying to educate you on what to look for on these high probability setups. How then you decide to get into the trade is really up to you. So for example, let's say you fully understand how the PTS XT is generating these nice setups. The next step is to practice, to paper trade, and then the next step is to actually start trading. Now let's say you decide to use options. Well, someone else could decide to actually buy the stop. Someone else could say, I'm going to apply this to currency pairs. Still, someone else could say, no, I'm going to try it with the E-mini futures. Remember, those are all your decisions. We're not an option course per se. We're simply highlighting these high probability setups. But once again, how you decide how to do it is up to you. For example, say you wanted to learn how to ski, okay? I could teach you how to ski. I know how to do it. I could show you exactly what to do, but I'm not going to buy the skis for you. I'm not going to tell you what skis to use, or if you want to snowboard, or if you just want to roll down in the snow. It's up to you. I'm going to show you what to do, but how you decide to apply what I've taught you is up to you. That's the same thing with options, okay? Someone's asking, do we give recommended plays to make? No, because once again, if I recommend things to you, then aren't I basically taking away your power? I mean, that goes against everything we teach. Remember, it's not, your job to listen to what someone else is recommending. What you should be doing is educating yourself so that you can make those recommendations to yourself. Now, we make that process simple by showing you what to do. If you're a beginner, we make it extremely simple so that we have students that have never traded before. And I've gotten back these emails saying, Steve, for the very first time, I'm making my own trading decisions and I'm consistent. I'm doing very well. And that's great. That's what we want to do. The one thing we always say is you should never ask anyone this question. And that is, what do you think of the market? Or what do you think of this stock? Or what do you think I should do here? I often, make the metaphor that it would be similar to a brain surgeon in the middle of an operation saying, well, how do you think I should operate? Or how do you think I should go here? Should I cut here or should I do this? You would never hear a brain surgeon saying that. But traders do this every day. We're trained to do this. And it's ridiculous. There's no reason why. You should be making your same decisions the same way a lawyer does, the same way a doctor does, the same way an airline pilot does. Those careers don't ask anyone else what you think they should do. They know because they've studied, they've done the work, and they're qualified to make their own decisions on how to go forward. I want you to do the same thing with your trading, okay? Now, any questions concerning the purchase of the platform and the PTS XT, anything concerning price, anything concerning guarantees or that nature has to be sent to ProTrader Strategies. That's their department. Anything talking about trading or actually how to apply it to your own trading is what I do. So if you have questions concerning now about a guarantee or something, I would contact ProTrader Strategies. As I said, they're very flexible and they have their own policies. The last question is, how long do you think this will last? Well, I think it's for a limited time only, and usually when we have a limited time only, that's usually for the next 24 to 48 hours. So you're going to get this video later today. We're going to send it out to all the people in the class today. I would suggest watching it, but if you're really serious about taking your trading to the next level, take advantage. Don't sit on it and say, well, you know what? I've been watching it for the last 2 weeks. I'm going to call ProTrader Strategies. I'm convinced now that this is going to work for me because it may be back up to 5,000, and you don't want to sit there thinking, gosh, I just missed $4,500 that I could have taken advantage of. So I would, for the next couple of days, make a decision on this. Remember, $500, you're getting 40 years. I've been trading for now 43 years, 44 next couple of weeks. You're getting over 40 years of information and techniques right there in front of you as your personal mentor. Remember, one last thing, someone is asking, what do you mean by trading correspondence, personal correspondence? You get my personal email. You can email me whenever you'd like. I was answering emails this morning from students in Florida. Okay, I'm on the West Coast. I was answering questions from students on the East Coast. So I'll be there as soon as I can to answer any questions that you may have about trading. And it's like having your own personal mentor there to answer whatever it is that you're wanting to know. So take a quick look at the video as soon as you get it, but please, if you're really interested, don't sit on this. This offer will most likely go back up to 5,000 starting next week, okay? Okay, great questions. As we close here, I hope you learned something today. I hope you saw how simple and how easy it is to use this extremely powerful tool. I just took the top 10 stocks of the past year, and you saw how it would have generated signals in all of them. So you could have been in all of those stocks if you wanted to, if you were using the PTS XT. The beauty of this is that we teach you how to apply it to your own personal trading. No matter if you've been trading 20 years or 20 minutes, everyone will get the same very simple rules. And I'll be there with you every step of the way to guide you, okay? As we take one last look at our disclaimer, I just want to thank you once again for attending today. I wish all of you a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. I'll see you next week. But most of all, I look forward to all of you becoming students of mine in the PTS XT class. Thank you so much for attending. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.